In this video, I would like to share with you my views on doing a shorter distance event on the road leading up to a 70.3 or an Ironman distance triathlon. Hi guys, welcome to a new video. So the question is, should you do an Olympic distance triathlon before a 70.3? I would definitely say yes. It can seem tempting, and it happened to me also, to adopt a kind of like go big or go home mentality. Signing up for a 70.3 or an Ironman and saying that is going to be my first triathlon, I'm going to do the hardest one, and then I'm going to show everybody that I did it. You take one giant step instead of smaller, less glamorous baby steps, and then you're done. And let's face it, Olympic distance triathlons usually don't have that Ironman mystique to them. They don't have the finisher vibes. Probably less alluring and less tempting to sign up for. And in truth, there are a lot of reasons why a 70.3 and an Olympic distance triathlon are two very, very different events for a lot of different reasons, namely intensity. And I believe they should be seen this way, as two different events. But in my opinion, there are way more reasons why doing an Olympic distance on the road to a 70.3 is an absolutely great idea. And doing this distance before the big one can really, really help. Here are the best benefits that I found. You start small with less pressure. I found that an Olympic distance triathlon usually a pretty casual event. They are organized locally and oftentimes are fairly cheap to enter. My first Olympic distance was around 40 euros, I think. This makes signing up just a little bit easier compared to that huge Ironman registration fee. Gear preparation. This, I believe, is the single most important and most beneficial aspect of doing a shorter distance race before a 70.3 or an Ironman. Getting all our gear prepped, organized, and ready for race day. A tri is not like a marathon. You can't just rock up with your running shoes and that's it. Especially the longer distance triathlons require a lot of preparation before the event itself regarding gear. In the selection, in the organization, and on taking them on race day. I saw the day of a 70.3 like a very important day in my life. So what I was trying to do was to avoid any problems that would arise from aspects that I could control. Namely, gear. I could control the gear that I used on race day. So I wasn't going to let anything to chance. And this is very true in triathlon with gear. There is a ton of stuff that can go wrong. You need to take a ton of gear to a tri event. Race belt, wetsuit, goggles, cap, bike shoes, the bike, nutrition, running shoes, a hat, sunglasses. The list just goes on and on and on. And it can be so easy to forget a part of this. On race day and during the preparation to the race, maybe some aspects of these we don't really think about. For example, nutrition. Man, it gets complicated really fast. Race rehearsals and gear preparation can absolutely be done from the boot of our car. I did that a couple of times. I used the boot of my car as transition zone. And it did help with getting like a clear picture of what I needed and what I didn't need. Or even just simple stuff like leaving my running shoes loose or getting elastic laces in order to put on my shoes faster. But I found great value in organizing my gear, preparing all the gear in an actual race setting, because it is very different compared to the boot of the car. An actual race atmosphere is very, very different, and our feelings are very different in an actual race. Everything seems just more real, and it can make the preparation just a little more precise. What I personally did was I made a list on my phone of all the things that I needed. I completed this list and then I took a photo of my gear in order to know that I had everything ready and I just needed to put it in a bag, put it in my car and drive to the event. This really helped with feeling organized and in control of everything and not leaving anything to chance. Doing this for the Olympic distance race really helped when I did it for the 70.3 because it was basically just doing the same thing. Another big part of triathlon events is the registration process. Finding a race, deciding you're going to commit, paying the entry fee, but then there's a whole other part, which starts when you receive the confirmation email. And this part, in my opinion, needs to be familiarized with. What happens with a triathlon event is that after registration, you receive an athlete guide, which has a timetable, a map of the event, a map of the race course, and a whole lot of other information. Receiving all of these documents, reading through them, getting familiar with the race rules, with the race course, helped me get in contact with this reality, which is made of rules. Triathlon events are made of rules. I was used to skateboarding events and snowboarding events where rules were out of the window and it was just general like loose timetable of the event, but oftentimes it wasn't even followed like that strictly. So getting familiar with a more rule-based system really helped. And to be honest, rules in an Olympic distance triathlon are way less than 70.3 or a full distance Ironman. When you have a race day on a calendar, this makes it real. Having that day circled out on the calendar and having an actual race can really help in getting the training specific towards that event and making both the training sessions and the rest more purposeful. Every session has a specific meaning and a goal and an outcome, which is made more real by the fact that there is a race looming. Another reason I believe doing a shorter distance event in the lead up to a big race can help is with motivation. It can give some immediate and short-term goals that during a month-long preparation for a big event, sometimes motivation can wane and we can start like losing track of what we are actually doing, and having these little intermediate goals can really help boost motivation. And another reason is that it can give us a benchmark of where we're at fitness-wise and realize maybe that we need to work on some things, whereas maybe we can be positively surprised by some other things that are going really well and that we have progressed a lot in. Specifically in my case, what it told me is that I needed to work on the swim and on the bike to run transition. I will be making a full video about my first Olympic distance race, how it went, what problems I had in the near future, so stay tuned for it. Setting up a transition zone. So setting up a transition zone is nothing too complicated, but it's not easy either. Yes, it can be done in the booth of your car, like I said before, I did it, but doing it in an actual race setting is a completely different beast. Even in a small race, it can really help with getting used to what a transition area is, how it flows, where to put the bike, how to set up your gear, so that your transition is the most efficient possible. Transition setups can differ, and you will find that in the athlete briefing, but they can be clean, like an Ironman one, which is everything inside a bag, so there is nothing next to the bike. Or they can be more loose, like in the case of my first Olympic distance triathlon. It was just basically put the stuff next to your bike and just leave it there and it'll be fine. Another thing that can really help is seeing other people and how they set up their transition zone, because you might get some value out of what they're doing. So maybe they are setting up their nutrition in a different way, they are sticking it onto the bike in a different way. And basically you get to see people doing things in a different way to what you would do, in the good and in the bad. The good might be seeing that they are also using elastic laces on their running shoes, and in the opposite, seeing things that you would not do. So personally, seeing people leaving their bike shoes next to the bike and not attached to the pedals, for me that is not a good choice, because you need to put on your cycling shoes, run with them, and it just makes no sense where you can leave them on the bike and just take your bike out, get on the bike, pedal a couple of times, then put your shoes on. I find it way more smooth and an efficient transition. So seeing other people doing the same thing as you and having that feedback can also really help. And in my opinion, it's better to see it the first time in a smaller event than on the big day. Because if you've forgotten something on the big day, it can be a whole lot of trouble. Another big benefit that I found was experiencing swimming with a lot of other people. Specifically, this race was divided into age group waves, but the age groups would start as a mass start. So we were divided by age, but we were starting off, I believe my heat was 100 people, and we all started from the same spot. So man, when I started the swim with all these other people and I ended up in the washing machine, as they call it, getting punched and kicked around, that was one experience that I will never forget. And the biggest takeaway from this was implementing techniques that would avoid me finishing up in the washing machine at the 70.3. So for example, starting off more on the outside of the starting spot and taking the first buoys wide, so in order to not get squashed by people who are swimming as close as possible to the buoy. This is something that I tried out in the Olympic distance and that I experimented with, and I followed through on the 70.3 with. Having experienced these things in a prior event really ensured that I had the best day possible during the 70.3 event. Another big benefit is facing problems and addressing adversity. What happens to me, but it is very common, is that during a race, our intensity, without even realizing it, is just a little bit higher than what we were prepared for in training. And this happened to me at all distances, Olympic, 70.3 and Ironman. This can be both positive and negative. This can lead to breakthroughs, like in my case, the 70.3 run that I had was for me an incredible performance that I was not expecting, and that was, I think, due to the fact that it was a race setting, so I was just willing to push a little bit harder and my body could handle it. But this can also, on the flip side, be a negative, as happened to me in the Olympic distance, because what happened during the bike to run transition was that I suffered tremendously with spleen pain, probably caused by a bike to run transition which was done at a little too high of an intensity. So having done this small event first, when this problem, the exact same problem, materialized itself during the 70.3, I already knew how to manage it and overcome it. First off, it was less severe because I did the transition from bike to run at a lower intensity. It did present itself a little bit, but I knew that if I slowed down the pace, slowed down the heart rate for 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, I will be fine. And this was a key for me to be able to manage this problem during the 70.3 and have my best race to date. So these reasons in a nutshell are why I would recommend anyone to do a shorter distance event before doing a 70.3 or an Ironman. This sport is beautiful, but it is very complicated and it can be very easy to make mistakes. In my experience, making as many mistakes as I could before the big day and not during it helped me have a truly unforgettable day out there. Okay, so those were some of the reasons I would recommend doing a shorter distance event before a 70.3 or an Ironman. I'm really glad I did it. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any other questions, leave them down in the comments, or be sure to join the Discord chat, where it is not only me answering, but there's a community of athletes from around the world who very probably have already gone through what you are going through and have already answered the questions that you are answering. And it's not only me, so it's so many other people who can share knowledge. I'll leave the link in the description. And another thing is, I truly value open and accessible communication, so keeping most of the knowledge shareable in the form of a comment in YouTube where I can answer, or in the Discord chat. But I do understand and I respect the fact that some people would like some of the questions to remain private. So what I've done is I've opened up the membership option to this channel, and One Tire as a perk has direct access via chat with me with unlimited questions. You can chat about whatever you want, and if you want me to talk about something, you can do that. So check out the membership option for this channel. You also get priority access to videos, and I'm going to be making videos for the members only section of this channel, so stay tuned. Okay, we've done it. Olympic distance triathlon was a stepping stone into my journey in endurance. I really like doing it. I'm really happy that I did it. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.